Have you thought about living in South Korea or visiting South Korea if you are a black or queer person? Well, let me tell you about my experience. My name is Nick Starchild. I am a queer trans man, and I travel the world on a budget with my wife. I also am a lifestyle architect, so what that means is I help you design your house. It is up to you to live in it. And what is house? Your house is your life. So I help people with financial literacy. I help people with living abroad or just maybe even vacationing abroad, taking some time off. And I also help with sexual health and hygiene types of education as well. But mainly it's about helping people move or travel abroad and their financial education journey. That's mainly what I do. But I recently did another world tour, if you will. I left the country. I left the United States in 2024, late 2024, and decided to go to Thailand. But before I went to Thailand, you do have a layover in an Asian country. Usually it's Japan or Korea or Taiwan. I chose Korea because I wanted to go to Seoul and experience that. I was definitely I'm of an age where about 10 years ago there was a very big really big push in education about or popularity rather about going to South Korea to be a teacher, and I thought that was kind of interesting to go live that life. But I found out, not too long after that all the glitz and glamour were not true. It isn't as nice as you think it is. Teaching abroad, there's a lot of discrimination, especially if you're a person of color, especially if you're black. The wages are very low, and it is a homogenous culture, so it can be a bit hard to assimilate into it, especially if you don't know the language, right? And I'm always a proponent of, if you're going to another country, you need to learn the language. Why would you go to a country and not learn the language? But yeah, people were going there. It was very popular, but ultimately maybe not as ideal as they thought. So I did go because I just wanted to try it out as a vacation, honestly. So I was there for about 10 days with my wife in our transition period to Thailand. So when we were there, we decided to stay outside of the city center because we felt like, let's save some money. Let's not do an Airbnb. Airbnb was a little bit more expensive, actually. We usually do Airbnb. But since it was going to be such a short time, we decided to do a hotel, which saved us a lot of money. I think our entire stay was maybe $200 or something, maybe even less, staying 10 days in a hotel. But it was pretty far outside the city. But the thing is, there is really great transportation in Seoul, at least in Seoul, where we were. So we decided to take the bus. We would take the train. It was figuring out how to get the transit card was a little difficult because where we were wasn't close to anything, and we didn't know we could get the transportation cards in the airport. We weren't aware of that. We got to the airport really late, 10, 11 o'clock at night. We were very exhausted from that flight, and we wanted to just get to our hotel and relax. So we did not end up getting our transit cards until the next day. And then we went on a little adventure in our neighborhood trying to find it, and using our Google Translate, trying to communicate with the convenience stores, because you have to go to a convenience store to get it, basically. We went to CU, that convenience store, and with some trial and error we got a transit card, not the one we wanted, but we did get a transit card, and we loaded some money on it, and which was hard. You couldn't load your card on it. You had to do cash, so I had to go outside to the ATM, get cash, come back in. But you could pay for the transit card with your card, which was weird. You could pay for the transit card with debit or Visa or whatever, but then if you wanted to load money on it, you needed cash. So that was a little confusing, but we figured it out. It was fine. And we would take the bus to go to the center parts of town. And it was great, actually. The bus systems are very clear, very organized, very clean. They're on time. There wasn't a big issue, especially if you have the transit card. You just get on the bus you need to get on and just tap the card. We did have to use a different transit app, Google Maps does not work very well in South Korea, at least in Seoul. So we're using, I believe it was called Navimap. We're using that app to get around. So we did that, and then we would take the train. Usually take the bus to the train station, and we take the train and into town. It would take a while though, getting into the center parts of town would take about 45 minutes. It would be some time, but it was nice. You see different parts of Seoul. It was really great. The bus and the trains had Wi-Fi, so you could still do any activities you wanted to do, but underground, that was pretty dope. To still use your phone. Etiquette is people are pretty quiet on the trains, and but everyone's kind of just doing their own thing. People are a little rushy, they'd be rushing to the trains and rushing to get a spot and to sit on the seats and stuff. So that was a little unpleasant for me. When people are rushing, it stresses me out, especially when there's no need to rush, but they rush a lot to get to places. Gotta make the train. Even the way that their culture is set up around getting on the escalators is you make room for people who want to basically run up or down the escalator to make their train. So it's just part of the culture. It's a lot of people in Seoul. But yeah, we were there. We did a lot of touristy things. We went to some temples. We went to the mall. We went to the mall a lot. Lotte Mall. We went to that mall. We went to so many other malls. And walked around gardens. And it was really great. We really had a good experience. The only thing that was a little hard for us was I was going through this digestive issue at the time, and I did not want to eat a lot of food, and there were times where my wife wanted to eat and I didn't. And a lot of places in Seoul, you have to eat. If you come in with someone, you have to order food. You can't order even a side dish. You have to order a main meal. They don't like people to sit down and one person to order, or I guess maybe there's a possibility that you might share the food and they don't want that to happen. I don't know. It was weird. So in those occasions, we would just ask for the food to go. But yeah, that was a little challenging for us. Were there a lot of black people in Seoul? No. No, there wasn't. There were some. There were tourists. There was absolutely other black people there, but was there a lot of black people? No, not at all. There were lots of tourists there of all ethnicities and backgrounds. Not too many brown ones. Most of the brown ones were other maybe Southeast Asians. People from the central east, the Central East, often called the Middle East, but it's really Central East, Asia, and yeah. But I did see some. I definitely did. I saw some people. Oftentimes they were alone, which I thought was interesting. It wasn't a lot of couples. It was mostly solo travelers. And I'm traveling with my wife, who is a woman of color. She's a brown woman of color and mixed race too. So she's a little bit ambiguous in terms of her identity. And we got a lot of looks. I mean, people looked at us all the time. Not in malice, more of curiosity. But there was a lot of staring. I already know that when I go to a place that's homogenous that might happen. When I was in Mexico and Guatemala, it happened a lot, but it wasn't I never felt oh no, they're staring at me. It was never like that. It was very more curiosity and usually welcoming smiles, looks and smiles and stuff like that. But in Korea, it was more of surprise, especially where we lived, because we lived outside of the city center. We were staying in the hotel, so whenever we went to businesses around there, people definitely were staring at us why are you here? Why aren't you in the middle? Why aren't you in the central part of Seoul, right? In the more touristy parts. And we're nah, we're trying to save money. Right? So we prefer to be amongst locals. We're totally okay with being in places where we kind of stick out. We're totally fine with that. So yeah, it was an interesting experience to, it was cold too, I have to say. I have to point that out. We went in October, November, so it was pretty cold. It was a lot of rain. It was cold weather, but it was nice. I really enjoyed my experience, but it was very organized. Like I said, it was very clean. The whole city was clean. Things moved very efficiently, but there definitely was a feeling to me of lack of warmth in terms of day-to-day life. People don't really talk to each other if they're strangers, and there didn't seem to be a lot of connection to people. It was just very technological technologically advanced, very organized, and just an efficient kind of system that people were living in. No nonsense kind of thing. Food was pretty good. There's tons of international food, and I like Korean food, so the Korean food we had was pretty good. I enjoyed the food there. Now, in terms of going back, I mean, I would go back, especially to go to other places, like, just other cities in South Korea, right? Experience those, go to the beach and stuff like that. I definitely would be open to that, like Busan, right? Those kind of places. But would I go back to Seoul? It's not even like it's a bad place. It wasn't. Like, I enjoyed myself there. I really had a good time, but it wasn't like a very welcoming place. No, it wasn't a warm place. Not just because of the weather. I just didn't feel like, oh yeah, this is a place that I want to like live or come to multiple times. It's like, okay, well, I went there and I did it and I experienced it. It was a positive experience, and that's it. That's it. It's fine. But yeah, that's how I feel about South Korea. So if you are black, yeah, you'll be fine. I don't know how it is to be a solo traveler. Like I said, I'm traveling with my wife, so my experiences are a little bit different. But I had no issues, no racial tension or anything like that. Just stares, which I'm pretty used to. If you're a queer person, as I am also queer, but I'm with my wife, so I don't give queer unless you know. If you know, you probably know. But I would say there are a lot of queer people in South Korea. Their couples are everywhere, but in their culture, you're not as affectionate outside. You're not like hugging and kissing and stuff. I did see people holding hands though, men and women, but mostly women. I saw lots and lots of queer women or people who were masculine center with their femme girlfriends and stuff like that. There are tons of people like that. And that was another thing too, is like the culture doesn't really express itself much. It's a lot about conformity, right? So most people wear black, gray, and white. And if you were color, you were usually a child or an elderly woman. Like, people didn't wear a lot of color. You didn't stick out. Only foreigners wore color. So that was a little weird to me, the lack of expression. Even though there were different types of people, you could tell by how they dressed and different types of subgroups, but it was still within those colors. So that was really weird to me, but that's just how it is there. But yeah, overall, very positive experience. I would recommend people go if they're interested, if they're a person of color, if they're queer. You should be fine in these places, and you'll probably enjoy yourself. Might want to recommend going in the spring. Going in the fall, winter time it was just cold. It was cold, so if you want to avoid that, I would definitely recommend going at a different time of the year. Although I hear that in the summer it's hot as balls, so also got to weigh that out if you want to go in the summer. So, but yeah, it was a good experience. If you are interested in planning a trip to South Korea, you want to visit, you want to contemplating living abroad, you want to check that country out, I would love to help you. I help people, with their financial literacy, with getting prepared to move abroad. I have some resources on my website if you want to check that out. And yeah, just hit me up and we can chat about any opportunities there. Yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one.